Let me say that again. Okay, so 250 years ago, most things that were shipped to you were shipped on a ship. And barrels are really a nice shape that you can stack on a ship. And they had special ways of stacking them depending on what kind of ship it was, and everybody knew how to do that. Of course, they've got all kinds of things that they're putting in there. They got wet things like rum and molasses and oil and grease. And those kind of barrels are made, and water, those are made by coopers that are called wet coopers, and they're the best barrels because they can last up to 30 years. Then you get barrels that contain things like sugar and salt and axe heads and pieces of spinning wheels and things like that, and those are made by what's called the dry cooper. And he's an expert at making pallets. Basically, he's making the cheapest possible barrel he can make that'll last one trip, and then they're going to destroy it. Then you got what I'm doing today. All the barrels are bent in the middle, they're fat, but things that don't have to have bent sides, they like wash tubs or milk containers or cheese presses or butter churns. Those are made by what's called the white cooper. Milk is white, butter's white, cheese is white, soap is white. So and there's a couple other definitions of white coopers, but typically he's the guy who doesn't have to bend his staves. So over here, hiding behind my anvil, is a little bucket that the park owns, and you can see it's about to come apart. The bands are loose, and so the first thing I got to do is make new bands.
Oh,
and so
that's what you're doing right now.
That's what I'm doing right. And actually, that's going to be, and then all I have to do is put it on. So the interesting thing about the bands, though, none of these things are cylinders. They're all either cone shaped or they're oblate spheroids, spherical shapes. And so if you take a rectangular piece of metal, they used to call this banding iron back in the 1700s, put that on there and you wrap it around, what's it going to do? Well, it's not going to run straight, it's going to run downhill.
Yeah.
And so you can't make your band that way. So what you do is you take a piece of banding iron and you stick your hammer on my anvil here, and you can do this cold, you don't have to heat it up, you don't need the blacksmith. You can hammer along one side of it. When you do that, it stretches that piece of metal out. So you can compare these two right here. The one on the bottom is smiling at you, the one on the top is just straight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just did that this morning, so it's not nothing special about that. That's the piece I cut off of that piece.
Oh,
I thought,
okay.
well, this makes a good demo. I'll do that one too. So
that's
so
neat.
This piece here, I don't want to take the punch out. I'm just getting ready to put a rivet in there.
Okay.
My rivets are sitting there, so I'm going to punch this, make a couple of holes, put the rivets in there, and that's what's going to hold it together. And then I'm going to put it on the bucket, and I'm going to use this thing here, which is called, the most important tool I think the Cooper has is called a hoop driver.
Oh, okay.
And so it's got a little indentation there, and this end is wood with a ring around it to hold it together. And this is what the Cooper used. So if you're working in a warehouse 250 years ago, this was your best buddy, because your job is not to make barrels, your job is to keep them from leaking. Because if your boss comes in and you got rum all over the floor, you're in trouble.
Oh yeah.
So it's today's a kind of a humid day, maybe not so humid. Wood's changing shape, changing sizes, and so barrel's going to get loose and it's going to start leaking. And so he goes in every day with his hoop driver, tightens those barrel bands. Every day. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So the number one job of the Cooper is to make sure the barrel bands stay tight.
That's interesting.
So that's the hoop driver, and that's, as the Cooper, the time I've been coopering, I've used this more than anything else.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, that was